Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtham Vatatmajam Vanarayutha Mukhyam Shri Ramadutam Shirasa Namami Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Apadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Cha Janakatmajaha Purato Marutir Yasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam. I am so delighted to be with you again after a little break. I cannot express how eager I have been to go through these verses that we are looking at, or I sent on our WhatsApp group a set of verses. I've been waiting, and somehow or the other circumstances didn't allow for us to meet. But I'm very excited because the culmination of the entire Ramayana, the entire effort that Hanumanji has put in has to be blessed by Seetha Devi. And today's session is where Seetha Devi will reveal herself. And I'm carefully using those words, will reveal herself, instead of saying Hanuman found Seetha, because where we left off last time was that Hanumanji, as the personality symbolizing or representing a sadhaka who's in the search for the soul, that search is not possible without grace. Regardless of how much effort, how much logic, how much ever other tools one may apply, ultimately there has to be grace. And the verse that we have referred to many times is from Sri Rupa Goswami, Ata Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grahyam Indriyer Sevon Mukhehi Jivhādau Swayam Eva Spruhati Adaha. Swayam Eva Spruhati, that the Supreme reveals himself. In this case, the revelation of the existence of the pure soul is an act of grace. While there has to be our own effort, no doubt, there also has to be grace. Our effort is not in getting things done. Our effort is in evoking grace. It's different. So every time we put our effort in our seva, our thought always is not, am I putting an effort for this outcome or that outcome? I'm putting my effort into evoking grace that completes the outcome, that brings success in the outcome. Or sometimes the outcome is not successful, yet grace comes in. For the example of Jatayu. Jatayu's effort failed, yet Ramachandra's grace came in large quantities in a very intense expression. Because the effort he put was not so much, it looks like the outcome, but the effort was in seeking or evoking grace. So that's the context. Then when we met last time, we took help of Sri Rupa Goswami to appreciate, as students of Ramayana or students of or followers of Rupa Goswami, we took a particular verse that indicates the 10 symptoms of separation. Vipralambha has certain symptoms. And I shared that verse with the group here. I'm going to read it again. Excuse me. That verse is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, chapter 14, verse number 53. Chintatra jagro dvego tanavam malinangata pralapo vyadhirunmado moho mrityurdasha dasa. Dasha, 10. Dasha, conditions or states of being. Chinta, atra, atra, here, those are chinta, jagara, means being awake, udvega, being in anxious condition, tanavam, becoming very thin and emaciated, malinangata, unclean, pralapaha, talking like a madman, vyadhi, disease, unmadaha, madness, moha, illusion, and mrityu, wanting to end their life, because without Krishna or without Sri Ramachandra, there is no purpose for continuing to live. This is different from suicide that we see in the world, because suicide means a person is unhappy for their conditions in a material context. This is not in relation with the Supreme Lord. Anyway, so that's the framework within which we will examine. I'm not going to point out, that's for you, the audience, to make that correlation. But that's what we're going to do. So Hanumanji, who is in Ashokavana, after searching and searching and searching for Seetha Devi in the entire Lanka, was almost ready to give up. And then he said, no, Sampati had expressed that she is here. And then he says, oh, I haven't seen this Ashoka garden. And he enters Ashoka garden, and there's a whole chapter of description of the beauty of Ashoka garden, which we discussed last time. And Hanumanji is looking at a particular structure, a building that is 3 floors high. So it is called prasadya, which has a balcony. And he's looking, he's examining it. And it's made with gold and studded with jewels, and it is very high. Its spire goes very high. It says as if it is scraping the sky. And he's looking at that, and suddenly he is able to see somebody. Now, what you'll notice is in all of these verses, the word indicates a woman, but the name is not given. Like he had seen last time, Mandodari, of course, he didn't know her name, but he saw the chief woman lying down on the shoulders of Ravana. Similarly here, in Ashokavana, it is never described who her name, what her name is, until the end of this section that we're going to stop at. So he's only observing a woman. Because it is Sanskrit, the word indicates a woman, but nowhere is the word of indicating this is a woman. It's just the way it's described, you know it's a woman. Okay. And this is how he sees this woman. You can follow along in the document I said. It's verse number 18 of chapter 15. Tato malina samvītām rākṣasībhiḥ samāvṛtām upavāsa kṛśām dīnām nihśvasantīm punaḥ dadarśa śukla pakṣa ādau candra rekhām amalām. Lovely, lovely set of verses. This is Seetha Devi's first appearance for Hanuman, who has never seen her. He has only heard how wonderful she is. So tataha, at that time, in the verse it says dadarśa, he saw. At that time, he saw. So he saw somebody, a woman, but she was in this condition. And it says tataha because thereafter or then, which is as he was looking at this building, which is very large and high, suddenly, that's the indication, suddenly he saw. So what happened is that one of the reasons Valmiki doesn't say that is Seetha Devi walking in the garden is because previously, when Hanumanji was examining all the women, he came to a hasty conclusion by seeing Mandodari that, oh, that might be Seetha. So he doesn't want to make the same conclusion again. So Valmiki, in his description, does not refer to her as Seetha until all of these observations are made. So that in this case, Hanumanji is very cautious and prudent. But we know it is Seetha Devi, but that Hanumanji hasn't concluded just yet. We know because we know the storyline from the previous times we have heard. But we are going along with Hanumanji. We are going to enter into that spirit as if we are searching. So we can't conclude just yet, but at least there is hope. So what is the first appearance for Hanumanji? For students of Bhagavad Gita, although we're talking about the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, who is the God of all gods, the fountainhead of all avatars, whose beauty and activities are beyond compare, not only in this world, but in the spiritual world as well, is introduced to all of the common people in this world for the very first time in Bhagavad Gita as a chariot driver. Senoyor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapayame achyuta. Arjuna tells Krishna, please draw my chariot right between the two armies. That's the first time ever we are introduced to the Supreme Lord as a very mere, meager servant of Arjuna. Chariot driver, it's a very low position, although very high, not a very high, the highest personality. In this case, the highest personality, Shakti Tattva, Seetha Devi, we are introduced to, or Hanuman gets introduced to as malina samvītām, wearing clothes that have been dirty because she's been sleeping on the ground and there's a lot of dirt on her clothes are soiled. So it means she's been wearing this cloth for a very, very long time. Technically, a little over 10 months. She has not washed it and she's wearing a single cloth. Now, a single cloth generally indicates that the woman is not in the happiest condition. Draupadi, when she was in her inner chambers, she was wearing a samvītām, which is one single cloth. And which indicates that she is dealing with some sort of worry or concern. So that's the chinta here. Now, generally, one washes a cloth after they wake up, because by sleeping, the person's body is under the influence of tamoguna and the body becomes unclean. So the cloth that is touching the body becomes unclean and therefore one has to wash. But in this case, when Seetha has been wearing the same cloth for such a long time, especially such a cultured woman, the indication is that she has not slept. It's the dhvani in the verse, that she has not slept for a very, very long time. That's the jagara in the verse. And although she's wearing malina samvītām, she's not alone. rākṣasībhiḥ samāvṛtām. She's been surrounded by rakshasas. That means she's been carefully being guarded over. She's been watched over by these demonesses. Therefore, we know that she's not in the most peaceful state of mind. It's disturbed. Udvega. Okay, she's wearing soiled cloth for whatever reason. She's surrounded by the rakshasas, but is she nice and hale and hearty? No. Upavāsa kṛśām. The word kṛśām means under distress. And the word kṛśām gets conjugated as a verb in different way. We heard about Hanuman in the very first few verses of Sundara Kanda, where he says, Shatru Karshanaha, one who puts his enemies in distress. Or in Bhagavad Gita, we hear in the 15th chapter, Mamaivamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manah sashtanindriyani prakritisthani karshati. One is struggling, one is under distress because of the mind and senses, although the living entity is a part and parcel of mind. So here, kṛśām, upavāsa kṛśām. She is in distress of one kind because of fasting. She has not been eating. Now, Hanumanji, and this is an indication of tānavam, becoming very thin and emaciated. When Sri Rama and Lakshmana met Hanuman for the very first time, one of the qualities Ramachandra picked up and appreciated about Hanuman when he's speaking to Lakshmana is this person is an expert at speaking, but he's also an expert at body language. Very little things, the movements of the eye, the way the body is aligned, the way a person is thinking, speaking, reading their eyes without having to know exactly what they are speaking with. Just through the eyes, they can read the state of their mind, because we say face is the index of the mind. In Sanskrit, it's called inkita jnanaha. Very little bit, they can read exactly what's going on. So Hanuman, just from the movements, the body language of Seetha Devi, can fully understand not only the physical, but the mental condition as well. Her body is emaciated. So he concludes, or he comes to an idea, she hasn't eaten in a very long time. Dīnām, she's in a very poor condition. This poor is not about how much gold one has or how much money one has. Although in this case, she's not wearing any jewelry. So she's poor in that state. But this poor, that dīna, is the state of being lost or being desolate and hopeless. So the living entity, away from the Supreme Lord, sitting in a material body called Lanka, tormented by the mind called Ravana, is in a state of dīna. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is called Dīna Bandhu, Dīna Dayal, because it evokes his mercy upon us. And the lostness is, I may be in the middle of so much opulence, like Seetha is in the middle of the Ashokavana, which is very opulent. It is a garden that even Indra's garden feels shy about, or puts Indra's garden to shame. Yet she's in a dīna condition, which is an indicator that she has absolutely no interest in the worldly pursuits. Such a dīna person, we hear other terminology that we may be familiar with. One is akinchana. Kinchit means little bit. Akinchit, not even a little bit. They have not even a little bit interest in any worldly pursuit. Such a person is called akinchana. So Kunti Devi says, Tvam akinchana gocharaha. Or Ramachandra is referred to as Dīna Bandhu. We pray to Krishna. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindho, Dīna Bandho Jagatpate. A very famous verse by one of our acharyas, Madhavendra Puri. At the time of his disappearance, he was constantly reciting this verse that is in the mood of Srimati Radharani. I Oh, my dear Lord, Dina Dayardra Natha Hai. You are the Lord of those who are poor and lost in this world. Dina Dayardra Natha. And her condition, although she is Dina, it is expressed as nihśvasantīm punaḥ. Again and again, she is she's sighing, she is exhaling. She's in a very pitiable condition. And that pity of this nihśvasantīm punaḥ is a sign of sadness because she's separated from Sri Ramachandra. And so she's not considering her condition to be anything worth celebrating or being joyful about. Now, Dina, nihśvasantīm punaḥ together will say that she cannot do anything. She is helpless, except she is hoping that Sri Ramachandra will come to Lanka to rescue her. Now, one of the symptoms of a Sharanagata or the symptoms of Sharanagati is to consider the Supreme Lord as the only rescuer or protector and maintainer, the exclusive maintainer and protector. Which means the Sharanagata devotee does not do anything for their own protection or maintenance. They don't defend in any way. I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's take Madhavendra Puri again. One of the things of Madhavendra Puri was a vow that he will not go on his own begging for food. Previously, sannyasis and others would beg for food. They would go to different householders and wait at their door for a few moments. If they gave something, great. Madhavendra Puri decided, I will not. Since the Supreme Lord is my maintainer and he maintains all living beings, the elephants, the ants, the pigeons, the eagles, the vulture, everybody is maintained. So similarly, he will maintain me as well. So if any food comes to me, I take that as his grace for that day. And if it doesn't come, I take it as his grace for that day. That is called being completely in the sense of the Supreme Lord is my maintainer. That is Sharanagata. Another example, Ambarisha Maharaj. When Durvasa Muni plucked his hair and invoked or evoked a massive demon to come and kill Ambarisha, the verse says that Ambarisha Maharaj stood like this. Neither his body nor his mind flinched even a little bit about defending himself. Because his conviction was, Rakhe Krishna mare ke, mare Krishna rakhe ke. If the Supreme Lord wants to kill, no one can stop. And if the Supreme Lord wants to protect, no one can kill. Prahlad Maharaja, our hero. Prahlad Maharaja was a little boy. At least Ambarisha was a grown-up king. He was a little boy. His own father tried in so many ways to torture and kill his very lovable son. That's why he called him Prahlada. Hlada means joy. Prahlada means intense joy. The one who gives him intense joy, he named him as Prahlada, but went after his life multiple times. But never did Prahlad, even once, defend himself. When he was administered poison, he drank it. He was put in a pit of snakes, hot oil. We know the story. He never protected himself. That is one of the conditions of, or the states of being a Sharanagata. So in this case, dīnām nihśvasantīm punaḥ. And her whole situation is, Sri Ramachandra is my only protector and maintainer, and he can do with me what he likes. Sikshashtika verse number 8. Aslisyava padarātām pinashtumām adarshtanān marmahatam karotuva. Yatha tatha va vidhātu lampato mat prananathastu sa eva na aparaha. You are my only Lord of the heart and no one else. And for that, you can do anything with me. You can make me joyful. You can make me brokenhearted. You can embrace me one day, kick me the other day. But you are my maintainer. Very high state. This is of prema bhakti, but we're getting an indication. This is what Hanuman's reading through. In all of this condition, yet Hanuman dadarśa śukla pakṣa candra rekhām iva amalām. Lovely phrase. Yet she looked like candra rekha, śukla pakṣa ādau. So after amavasya, the very first day is called Padjami. On the first day, you don't see the moon in amavasya at all, but on the first day after amavasya, you see a thin sliver of the moon that is shining, bright, and very pure, but very thin sliver. So she looked like the thin sliver of the moon on Shukla Paksha, the beginning of Shukla Paksha, Chandra Rekhām, like a little line of the moon. But amalām, very, very pure. So her dress is unclean, but Seetha Devi is always, always pure, which means she's untainted and very, very chaste. Or another way is, although she is shabbily dressed, her beauty is forcefully visible. You cannot miss how beautiful. Now imagine if she is not eaten for 10 months, if she is not bathed, she's not wearing any jewelry, she's not ornamented herself, she's in a disheveled condition, yet her beauty is stunning, stunning like anything. So imagine what it would be when she is expressing her full happiness. So a little beauty in the verse is, the verse starts with the word malinam and ends with amalām. So malinam is all her dress and condition, but amalām is the state of her heart, or that she herself is never impure. So it's a poetic alankara. It starts with malinam and ends with amalām. So in this verse and the verses that follow, we notice that Seetha Devi is always compared with items or things that are divine and pure. Here she was compared to Chandra Rekhām iva, like the pure, untainted moonbeam. And you notice in the next few verses what she's compared to. So next verse. Manda prakhyāyamānena rūpeṇa rucira prabhām pinnadham dhūmajalena shikhām iva vibhavasoho. So the second line gives the comparison. The first line gives the state of her being. Vibhavasaha means fire. Shikhām is the tongue or the shikha of the fire. When you light a fire, fire expresses itself as a tongue. So she looked like vibhavasaha shikhām iva, like the tongue of a fire. However, that tongue of the fire is subdued. Manda. Manda prakhyāyamānena, like a slowly appearing tongue of a fire. But rucira prabhām, very beautiful. Rūpeṇa rucira. The form of that fire or the tongue of fire is very good to look at. However, pinnadham dhūmajalena, it has been covered by a jala, a net of smoke or ash. We see a red hot coal. If you leave it for some time, the fire is inside the coal, but on top is a gray, dull covering. And if it is very possible for people to think, oh, the coal is not lit. But that's a very dangerous mistake. All you have to do is blow a little on that coal, and that ash or smoke separates, and a nice bright fire and a tongue shows up. That means her beauty and radiance is just slightly hidden under the malina condition of her body. So here the comparison of her purity and divinity is with rucira, prabhām, shikhām, vibhavaso iva, with fire. Fire is always considered pure. It never becomes impure. Then next verse. Pītena ekena samvītām. Again, she is wearing one piece of cloth that is yellow in color or golden. Pītena. Kṛśām upavāsa. Kṛśām, it is all crumpled, wrinkled. But upavāsa, you can tell that the quality of her cloth is uttama, very exquisite. And who had given her this cloth? When they had visited Atri and Anasuya's ashram, if you remember, Anasuya gave her a gift of a very special divine cloth. That is what she's been wearing. And sapankam analamkritam analamkaram alankara analankaram vipadmam eva padminim. She looked like a pond of lotuses that had no lotuses in it. But by knowing that this is Padminim, a pond that is supposed to have full of lotuses, but the lotuses aren't blooming. There are no lotuses on it. She's wearing and she's looking as if, although exquisite place, no lotus, like no blooming. Here, her purity is partly indicated by the word pītena. She's wearing uttamavāsa, exquisite cloth. Yet, sapankam, panka means dirt or mud. Sapanka means her body is muddy. Analankaram, she's not wearing any jewelry. Remember, half the jewelry she had thrown while she was flying away towards Lanka with Ravana, not with Ravana, that Ravana had taken her. And the other half of jewelry, she must be keeping it somewhere. We'll know later, but she's not wearing it. And she looked like a pond of lotuses without any lotuses in it. So the purity is about Padminim, a lotus-filled pond. Okay. Then the next condition of hers is vriditam dukkha samtaptam parimlanam tapasvinim grahena angakarena iva pīditam iva rohinim. Vriditam means bashful, as if ashamed, feeling sorry. Dukkha samtaptam, she is burning with sadness or distress. Parimlanam, again, her condition is not clean. Tapasvinim, you can tell that she is in serious tapasya mode. And her condition is like Rohini, the constellation, who's always the consort of Chandra. We have heard previously in last class also, like she followed Ramachandra, like Rohini always follows the moon, Chandra. But in this case, Grahena by a planet called Angakarena. Angaraka is the reddish looking planet called Mars. Angarakena eva pīditam, as if the Rohini is being distressed by this Mars. So both poetically and astronomically it has meanings. So let's go look at it. Tapasvinim. Remember, every verse there is an indication of her purity and chastity. So the idea of tapasvini, ascetic, means they're very pure in their heart. Constantly, because the only place, the heart has only one thing: the name, the form, the qualities of the Supreme Lord. Only the Supreme Lord resides in such a heart of a tapasvi. Vriditam, she's ashamed or bashful. So Viridhitam has different meanings. First, let's look at the external meaning. She is sorrowful or ashamed or feeling repentant because one, she knows that her condition today is because she made a choice. She had a desire for that deer, that shining, very tempting deer. And that she had insisted she wants that deer, even when Sri Ramachandra and Lakshmana told her again and again, that is not a real deer, it's only a decoy. But she said, no, I want it. And that desire brought her in this condition today. Another, she is feeling bashful or shy or ashamed because she is living in the house of another man, Ravana. And because of her own chastity to Sri Ramachandra, she is feeling very bashful. And this is for her own protection. This is what has kept her from completely being manipulated by Ravana. For every living being, when they meet the spiritual master and they're taking shelter of the spiritual master, there is one condition that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says at the point of initiation, when there is pancha samskara, 5 items are offered. The spiritual master gives a name, gives a tilaka, gives markings of Vishnu, gives the mantra. And from the disciple side, there must be some sort of tapasya, and that tapasya is called regret. The regret that, my dear Lord, I have traversed lifetime after lifetime, searching for material happiness. And each time I have been embarrassed. I have failed. And for some grace that I cannot measure or even say why, I have been now at the feet of your representative. My dear Lord, please accept me. This samtapta, this burning of regret is very, very essential for initiation. So in this case, he says dukkha samtapta and vriditam. Both are there, which is perfect condition for meeting a guru. Dukkha samtapta. She is harassed by distress. Her distress is the separation from Sri Ramachandra owing to such a desire for a deer. Now, from a Leela perspective, it is separation, of course. But we're going through that aspect where it is relevant to us. That every time there is a choice for some material happiness, there is distance between us and the Supreme Lord. A material pursuit separates us from the company of the connection with the Supreme Lord Sri Ramachandra or Sri Krishna. Parimlanam, she's completely worn out. She's tired. How do we know? Because Hanumanji is seeing that she has been constantly crying for 10 months. No, Hanuman was not there for 10 months, but he can tell, he can look and sense that she's been crying. We will see in the next verse how that comes true. And he says, Rohini. Now, Rohini is also a symbol of purity because Rohini is always the consort of Chandra. In this case, this Rohini, Seetha Devi, is the consort of Ramachandra. And that Ramachandra, that Chandra is not there, and suddenly Mars, Angaraka, has entered the scene. Ravana, reddish, burning, hot, fiery, and he's tormenting Rohini. So every time, apparently, maybe Shamakund can give us a little bit more enlightenment astronomically or astrologically. When Mars enters or is in conjunction with this constellation called Rohini, it completely distresses the person. So then next verse, her condition is Ashrupurna Mukhem. Her face is full of tears. She's been crying and crying and crying. Again, dīnām, kṛśām. Anashanena, she has not eaten. Shokadhyana-param dīnām. How many times the word dīnām has appeared already? In this verse, twice. Shokadhyana-param dīnām, nitya dukkha-parayanam. Dukkha-parayana means she is completely given into sadness. Very pitiable condition. Nityam, constantly. It's not like 10 minutes in a day she feels very happy, or 10 minutes in a day she feels very distressed. Nityam, constantly. There is not one waking moment in the 10 months that has been anything joyful or even happy. Not even once. Ashrupurna mukhim dīnām kṛśām anashrena cha. Shokadhyana param. Her whole meditation is on the Supreme Lord Sri Ramachandra, her dear lovable consort. Shoka, dhyana. She's constantly given into this lamenting, pitiable condition, that she has been surrounded by opulence, gold, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, elephant tusks of ivory, and greatest trees and birds and ponds and lotuses, very well decorated ornaments, the best of clothing being offered to her, but she has absolutely no interest. In fact, these are the things that make people very happy. In fact, this has made her very sad, because Sri Ramachandra is not there. In one verse back in Ayodhya Kanda, she tells Ramachandra, with you, in whatever condition I am in, with you, I feel like I'm in a heavenly place. Without you, regardless of what wonderful condition it seems like I am in, that is hellish for me. Okay? And a condition is like this because Valmiki says, Priyam janam apashyatim, pashyatim rākṣasīganam, swaganena mrigim hīnām, shvagana abhivrātām iva. Priyam janam apashyatim. She is not able to see those who are dear to her. Okay. Who is she seeing? Pashyatim rākṣasīganam. She's only seeing groups of rakṣasis around her who are tormenting her. They're nudging her, poking her, yelling at her that she should give in to Ravana's demands. That's the torment she's being put into. These are the material desires constantly poking us. Give in, come on, give in to this, give in to that. And the analogy that Valmiki gives us is swaganena mrigim hīnām. She's like a little deer that has been separated from her herd of deer. Swaganena mrigim hīnām. And then she's in the group of shvagana abhivrātām. From swagana, she's gone to shvagana. Shvagana means a pack of wild dogs. Shvagana. So what happens to a deer? That's generally a symbol of delicate, very easily scared entity. When the deer is with her own group, she's happily eating grass and being in a joyful condition. And suddenly that deer, when it is encircled by wild dogs, then she is very fearful. Then Hanuman sees Nīla nāgābhāya veņñāha jaganam gataya ekaya nīlaya nīrada pāye vanarajya mahim iva sukarham dukkha samtaptam vyasanānām akovidām. Lovely verse. Her hair is nice, thick, black and long. Nīla nāga ābhāya. It has the resplendence, the shine of a big black cobra. Veņña means a single braid. Jaganam gataya. Jaganam means all the way to the back, up to her buttocks. It's gone such a long, thick hair braid. Jaganam Gataya Ekaya, a single. So it's like the crawling of a big, long, black cobra. And Nilaya Nirada Paye Vanarajya Mahimeva. She looks like the thicket, the hair is so thick that it looks like when the sky is clear of clouds, but there is a thicket of forest trees, then that thicket of trees looks actually very dark, even when the sky is clear. And that earth looks darkish because the canopy of trees obstructs any light from coming. But in this case, it says that she's been tormented by a black serpent because that Nirada Paye, the dark cloud, which is Sri Ramachandra, Paye means is gone. Vanarajyam and Mahim is because she's the daughter of Earth planet, or she's the daughter of Bhumi. She's compared to Mahim, Earth, that is feeling bereft of any clouds, yet everything is dark for her. And Sukarham, she is eligible for the greatest of pleasures and joy. However, dukkha samtaptam, she is being tormented by distress. And vyasananam akovidam, one who knows in her life she's not accustomed to any distresses or calamities. She's the daughter of Janaka. She never went through any difficulty. Then she got married into the family of Dasharatha. There was absolutely no vyasananam, which means no distresses or calamities in that family. But she chose on her own to come to the forest. And yet, even in the forest, Lakshmana and Ramachandra made sure that she is very comfortable. And now she's in this condition. Then, Tam samiksha vishalakshim adhikam malinam kṛśām tarkyamasa Seetha iti karanaihi upavāsa. So, Vishalakshim, she has big eyes. Hanuman is observing her. This is the first time he says Tam, which is she, observing her. Samiksha, he is looking. Vishalakshim, she has very big eyes. Malinam adhikam kṛśām, she is in a very, very soiled, dirty condition, which means she's just been rolling on the ground and sitting in the ground here and there. If it has been raining, she's just been sitting there. And tarkyamasa, tarkya means with logic. After seeing her situation, after observing her beauty, after noticing her purity, he made logical conclusion. Tarkyam asa Seetha iti. That is Seetha. And karanaihi upavāsa. On the basis of some logical reasoning, Hanumanji came to the conclusion, this is Seetha. And that's where we'll stop for today and see if there are any questions or comments, any reflections you have.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Kirti here.
Speak up, please. I can't hear you.
Please accept my humble obeisance.
Yes, Kirti.
Mother Seetha was referred to or compared to in the verse as waxing slither of moon, right? Sliver of moon. Is that right? Did I get
Yes.
it right?
Śukla pakṣa ādau candra rekhām iva.
I was wondering if this is to indicate that her condition is only going to get better now that Hanumanji, who is a representation of Guru Tattva, he is going to come meet her. because there is also similar phase of moon in the waning phase, right? In the Krishna Paksha also
Right.
we see similar phase. But instead, Valmiki chose to describe her as the waxing moon.
No, that's an excellent thought. Yes, one can consider that way. It's beautiful that from here on, we have to wait for the full moon. Now, although she's not compared to the moon, candra rekhām eva, that it's the illumination from a thin sliver. She's Shakti. So yes, when she meets the full moon, then we'll see the full radiance of her.
Another point, Prabhuji. In I don't know which book, is it right that Rupa Goswami also mentioned that Radharani's
Yes,
hair was like a snake?
I had in my notes, I skipped it. So once Sri Rupa Goswami is observing a pastime in his meditation of Srimati Radharani, and he refers to her as if her hair in the back looks like a black cobra. And so Sanatan Goswami says, hey, comparison with a black cobra, that's interesting. And he says, maybe you should edit it or something like that. And then when Sanatan Goswami is chanting his japa, in his meditation, he actually sees a young girl playing, and she's jumping up to catch a branch of a tree. And suddenly he sees a cobra behind her, and he runs to her and says, oh, watch out, there is a cobra. She turns around and looks at him. And actually there's no cobra, it's her hair that's thick and black like a cobra. And then he smiles and understands the reference Rupa Goswami has used. That's what you're talking about?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. That's good catch. Good catch. So the original reference of hair as a black cobra is here by Valmiki.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Sarvabhauma Prabhu.
Please accept my humble obeisance. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, just a very wonderful class, and one or two thoughts.
Yes.
As you were saying, slithering of moon, looking at Seetha Devi as Hanuman, she was so I was just drawing a parallel as Devaki was in the prison and she was pregnant when Krishna was in her room, and her beauty was also kind of suppressed, like within the fire within a pot. It was not coming out. So I was just drawing a parallel out of that.
Okay, wonderful. Great.
Second thing also, just wanted to have a little clarification. I was just thinking, as you are discussing about Purbara, and it is last stage is coming to the stage of death. So Raghunath Das Goswami, as he was coming to Vrindavan and he wanted to jump from Govardhan Hill. He wanted to die. So is it something we can understand the same situation, similar situation?
Yeah, it is, because the great personalities don't give up their life unless there is the sense of separation, that ecstasy of separation. Coming up, Seetha Devi is also going to try something like that.
And the last question, Prabhu, as you mentioned, like the time of initiation, that santapta state, as you said. So it is as like initiation, it's the starting, and it continues for rest of one's journey, right?
Right. Right. Obviously. Obviously, the regret is before, but there shouldn't be regret after. The regret after can be how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatrarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivamidrisham iha janina anuragaha. That regret can be there that I don't have a taste for the holy name. But hopefully after meeting a guru, one should not have a regret that I'm wasting my life. Before meeting a guru, the life was wasted, definitely. But after meeting a guru, we try. I'm not saying that I'm speaking the ideal condition. The regret will always be there that, oh, I can always do better. That's a good indicator. But the regret should not be that I haven't made my life any better, or my life has not become any better since meeting the spiritual master. That's not a glorification of the guru.
Yes, Prabhu, that's the same thing. Like, I'm not making best use of what opportunities I have got. That's the point.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Hare Krishna.
Please accept my most humble obeisances. This is Rajeshwari Pran.
Yes, yes.
Prabhu, this is a silly question, but still I thought I want to take your inputs on this. Here, when we were hearing that Seetha Devi looked at the Maya Dev, Lakshman tried to tell her, saying that no such thing exists. This could be the demons, the Maya. So like that, when we were the Jiva, when we are wanted to enjoy away from the Lord, did our Guru also helped us in a spiritual world not to go away from Krishna? I don't know. I mean, after coming here, we are sure that Guru is helping us to go back. But did something happen there?
Let's focus on what is happening here. So here, there are times when, let's say, after meeting or connecting with the Guru, not just one Guru, actually the reality is gurus, because there are many people who are helping us, not just one. There may be one Diksha Guru, but there are many, many gurus. Sometimes we have a certain desire or set of desires that we are hell-bent on. And despite being advised that that may not be good for us, there is a determination that I will only go in this direction. And the consequences that happen from it are regrettable. And so it's an indication that wisdom and good advice that's coming from the Shastric perspective, if it is ignored, then the consequences are only distress. Because Shastra is illuminating, and material desires make a person blind. Therefore, we say, Chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. In illusion, a rope, a snake might look like a rope, and one may go to pick it up. But those who are illuminated and illuminating will say, that is a snake. Or the blind well. There's a lot of grass growing on top, and one cannot see the blind well because one is happily running towards the pursuit or in pursuit of some material happiness. So someone has to say, oh, there's a blind well there. So like that, good advice, when ignored, good advice from a Shastra's perspective, when ignored, has a certain consequence. One is trapped by the mind and material desires. That's it. Don't stretch it to, was someone prompting us there or not? It's hard to say. But spiritually, we can say we acted or against good advice, against prudence.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Shruti here.
Yes, Suchi.
I have a question around when you mentioned Seetha Devi was very distressed and she was crying for 10 months. How should we interpret her crying? The way I am seeing her is she was looking for the deer and she committed a mistake. Now she is feeling very guilty about making that mistake. And she is going down the rabbit hole of feeling guilty.
No.
And
No.
Sure.
There is viriditam, that she is feeling sorrowful. But the viriditam is that the most of it is she's separated from Ramachandra. This is not guilt. This is love. This is a state of ecstasy. That's why the verse in the beginning from Rupa Goswami that I sent last week on the group and talked about today, that when one is separated from the Supreme Lord, the love is so intense that that intensity of love has all these symptoms. It's not about guilt. Guilt is a very mundane idea. There is dukkha samtaptam, that, look at my choice has brought me here. But her pain is from the separation of Ramachandra. That's important. If it is pain of guilt, then the person at the center of the whole thing is me. I am the one. In this case, the center of all her love, her heart, her being, everything is Sri Ramachandra. That's the difference between driven by guilt and driven by love.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. That is more
when
clear.
A person is feeling guilty like that, for example, the mundane sense, then the consideration is all about themselves. I did like this. I am like this. I. It's all about I. In her case, her whole sadness is that she's separated from Ramachandra. He's the center of her life. Okay. So that from a mundane sense is one, from a transcendental. We're talking transcendental. Now, on a mundane level, if we bring that to mundane sense, just for the sake of discussion, even at the mundane level, her crying is that, yes, a decision or a choice that I made has brought me here. And I want to be united back with the Lord. That's the crying. If you want, you can refer to Shikshashtaka prayers by Lord Chaitanya. The fifth one, he says, I Nanda Tanuja, O son of Nanda Maharaja, Kinkaram, I am your servant, Patitam Mam Vishame, I am now fallen into the entrapment of Vishaya, which is the senses and sense objects. Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha, I have fallen into the ocean of material existence. Kripaya, kindly, Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Dhuli, make me a little atom of dust at your lotus feet. That's my prayer. Please pick me up. Please. Not, I was so bad, I came into this condition. I am in this condition. Please unite me back with you. And up until that point, there is no joy. Spiritually speaking, there is no joy. I may be in the middle of all fantastic things, opulence, but yet I don't find joy in it. Because these things are all temporary and fleeting, and they're not sources of joy. Joy is all in the world. Things don't make people happy. It's relationships that make people happy. There are people who have many things, but no friends, and they're not happy. And there are people who have wonderful friends. They may not have enough, but they're very happy. Just worldly sense speaking. But what to speak if the relationship with the Supreme Lord Sri Ramachandra? Then even if they have nothing, in fact, they don't want anything, they give up everything for that relationship. Always, the point of consideration is a person is unhappy not because of a lack of things, is because of a lack of the right relationships.
It's very beautifully said,
Okay.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, sounds good. We will continue this chapter. I will send you more verses next week, where Hanumanji will continue observing Seetha Devi and her symptoms. But he has now come to that understanding, that is Seetha Devi. And many of us, all of us, are spiritual aspirants. And some of us may recognize that we are separated from Sri Ramachandra. Some of us are yet to recognize that the source of our distress or the illusory happiness that we think is the end all is also distress because of separation from Sri Ramachandra. May all of us have the grace of being spotted by the great acharyas like Sri Hanumanji, who then have come across the ocean of material existence on the behest of the Supreme Lord Sri Ramachandra, and have been searching for us. Now, there were many souls in Lanka. Not all of them were pining for Sri Ramachandra. Some were very happy and lost. And those, because they have no interest in Ramachandra, they're enjoying the exploits of Ravana. Hanuman's grace hasn't fallen on them just yet. But Seetha Devi, who finds that life has no meaning without Sri Ramachandra, will make a request that others also get Sri Ramachandra's grace and Hanuman's special mercy. And so our life is also that we help ourselves become connected to the Supreme Lord, Sri Ramachandra, and somehow or the other, awaken, enlighten, help, assist, facilitate, whatever is the word, others to also turn towards Sri Ramachandra and Sri Lakshmana and their wonderful, wonderful associates, Hanuman, Sugriva, etc. So because that is the place of real joy, that is the place of joyful existence, and that is the place of our actual eternal spiritual constitutional living. Thank you. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ji ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki